Please hang up and follow facility instructions to register this number as a private number. To consent to this recorded call, press 1. You may start the conversation now. Hello?
Jesus Christ, Daniel.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. How are you, bud?
Oh my god. I'm doing okay.
So how did things get this way for Daniel Larson? How could attempting to start a social media career end so badly? For half a decade, his life has been controlled by internet trolls who treat his life as entertainment. They feed into the delusions that Daniel calls his reality. In Daniel's world, he's a celebrity. He's a famous singer-songwriter, influencer, model, boyfriend of America's Got Talent star Grace VanderWaal. I mean, it is a lot better than living the truth, having nowhere to live, facing a pile of legal issues, and the butt of numerous jokes. So he believes the trolls instead. This is how he was so easily convinced, in the fall of 2023, that he was going to be a student at the University of Colorado Boulder and sing the national anthem for Coach Deion Sanders at the year's biggest football game. Posting it all online gave thousands of strangers quite the show, with the grand finale being Daniel's arrest at the game. After all, he wouldn't be a lol cow if he wasn't milked for laughs. Welcome to Tales from Under the Bridge. I'm Mason Owens. This is The Trolley Problem, the fifth and final episode of The Trolling of Daniel Larson. So when did the internet become so cruel? Well, in many ways, this is how it's always been. The anonymity that online forums offer allows individuals to say and do heinous things without facing the social consequences that they would in real life. So it would make sense that trolling would emerge rather quickly. But what even is trolling? According to Whitney Phillips, a professor at the University of Oregon and author of This Is Why We Can't Have Nice Things, mapping the relationship between online trolling and mainstream culture, it can take many forms.
The word trolling is kind of complicated these days because when I first started doing this research, it was a really bounded community, and if you were engaging on 4chan, you were self-identifying as a troll. You used subcultural bat signals, so you could really put a fence around the things you were trying to study if you wanted to go about studying internet trolling. And these days, when people use the term troll, it's often, some people describe themselves as a troll, but in my experience, it's more frequent or more common now for people to accuse others of trolling. And that can mean all kinds of things, and that's one of the reasons that trolling is a tricky word to use.
There are stark differences between different activities that fall under the term trolling. Hijacking an online vote with a bunch of friends to ensure Bodie McBoatface wins a boat naming contest is the kind of prank that has been considered trolling in the past. That actually happened, by the way. But employing a bunch of trolls to stoke the flames of political elections and advancing certain agendas is also considered trolling. And so is swatting, the act of calling in a fake threat so that SWAT teams show up in a person's house, which has resulted in death and severe injury. Whitney says that trolling is more of an umbrella term.
Because if it's the same descriptor to describe, harmless, silly behavior that, maybe isn't totally innocent, but also it's not devastating anyone, it's not traumatizing anyone, it's playful. That's one kind of behavior and one kind of conversation. But if the same term is used to describe identity-based harassment, targeted abuse, targeted harm, then it's strange that you would use the same word to describe that.
Daniel isn't the first lol cow, and he won't be the last. When his content runs dry, there will be plenty more potential candidates for trolls to move on to. They're going to keep doing this because they like doing it.
Some people really want to cause harm because they like causing harm, and there's no other motivation beyond that. They just like to watch things burn. Some people make decisions to be antagonistic because they're making some kind of political point. The point could be right-leaning, the point could be left-leaning, but people are motivated to take a stand on a particular issue, and being antagonistic is one surefire way for one thing, to get a lot of attention. And some people are motivated just because it's kind of fun and funny to laugh along with, to be part of an inside joke. So they might end up participating in something that's harmful, but they're not thinking of it in terms of causing harm. They're not actively trying to cause harm. They're actively pursuing their own entertainment. It just has these consequences that maybe people are less, reflective on in the moment, because it's enjoyable to be part of the group that's laughing. Much less fun to be the group that's being laughed at, or the person that's being laughed at, when you become targeted by groups of people, whatever word you use to describe it. It stops being fun real fast.
Trolls enjoy what they do, just like any other hobby. They don't need to be made aware that their actions are often cruel. They already know.
It's hard to know even how to intervene, because if someone, this is the classic problem with fact-checking. People share a lot of information not because they think that it's true, but because they know that it's false. And so if you're sharing it because you know it's false, you don't care about a fact check. A fact check makes no difference to you, because you're like, yeah, I know. That's the whole point. I'm sharing it because it's false. So if you're a person who's motivated to do harm because having someone say, now that's not nice, or whatever the intervention might be, means nothing, because the person's like, right, and I have made a cost-benefit analysis, and I have chosen to engage in these behaviors, so you trying to moralize me is not going to be particularly effective.
In the meantime, Daniel continues to struggle with harassment from internet trolls. But maybe not for long. I was in contact with him in March and April of 2024. He was polite and well-spoken, but quite obviously paranoid, stressed, and tired. Despite his circumstances, he seemed excited about the opportunity to give me his side of the story. But after that, save for a few texts, I lost touch as he attempted to walk from Denver to Colorado Springs. Daniel was arrested again on April 2nd on a failure to appear in court for the Olive Garden incident. This was his 6th arrest to go on his record in 2024, his 10th arrest since he was banned from CU Boulder, and in total, his 14th arrest. He was released, again, but things continued to worsen. The trolls who have harassed Daniel for months leaked his phone number to a public Discord server, and Daniel was forced to get a new number, severing my only line of communication to him. But I could still find Daniel on YouTube and TikTok, where he continued to record his thoughts and feelings about his days. Then something happened. Something that could mean the end of the Daniel Larson story. On May 1st, 2024, Daniel was arrested again, number 15. But this time was different. Daniel would arrive to his probation meeting to find 2 plainclothes officers waiting for him. They were federal agents.
The feds pretty much got me.
The feds got you?
This time the feds got me. And Bob told me that it wasn't going to happen and he didn't believe me. And I went to probation yesterday, and sure enough, the feds were there, and they charged me with 7 counts of threats from the threats that I made.
There were rumors of Daniel being investigated by the feds on the Daniel Larson Discord server for months, but it seemed far-fetched. Why would the FBI want anything to do with him? Well, it turns out they were building a case. He was arrested for the many threats he has made on social media against a variety of entities, including the FBI and the White House. One might argue that Daniel isn't in his right mind when he says these things, and they're right, and he isn't even capable of doing that much damage. They would also be right about that. But the thing is, the government takes terroristic threats very seriously. At this point, success for Daniel likely involves unplugging from social media and receiving serious help and support to give him the structure and resources to finally find housing and actual employment. That is, if and when he is released. Something that remains uncertain at the time of this recording. Daniel seems to have fallen through the cracks in the system that has him caught in a vicious cycle. There are many other individuals who find themselves in similar situations, where their mental health has led them to struggle with homelessness and legal issues. Unfortunately, this is what makes him a perfect target for harassment, according to activist Liz Fong Jones.
They pick on vulnerable target people that no one is willing to advocate for, right? When you pick on mentally ill people, how many of them are actually going to be able to cogently talk to the media about what's going on? Conversely, you walk into a police station and you say, everything I say online is being watched by people, and they place harassing phone calls to me. You sound like a paranoid schizophrenic. You really do, right? Except where it's actually true, right? There's documentation of it. That's really the problem, right? They pick on people who are vulnerable, and even people with some degree of privilege. And I wish they would stop doing what they're doing. But it's clear that they are going to keep on doing it until they are not able to anymore.
Daniel will also need to take some level of accountability for his actions and embrace any resources available for help once his legal issues are resolved. This is unlikely while he's still posting online and living in a virtual world of fantasy. Daniel's ex-friend, Dylan Clark, doesn't see this stopping anytime soon.
As much as Daniel likes to victimize himself, as much as he likes to make it seem that everyone is out to get him, which there's a semblance of truth to that. People are actively trying to, mess with him in certain ways, like just meeting up with him randomly and just throwing water on him or something like that, or throwing fart spray.
In Dylan's eyes, the trolls are just one half of the equation. It takes two to tango.
Daniel really does it to himself, If Daniel really wanted to, live a quiet life and actually be productive, he could do that at any time. He could do it at any time. All he has to do is cut his phone off. That's it. If I were in Daniel's shoes, and if I had the sound mind that I think I have, I'm pretty sure I have a sound mind, I would just cut my phone off. I wouldn't engage with internet people anymore. I'd try to find myself a little job, something small, maybe go to a temp agency, work in a warehouse somewhere, work off all of these active warrants, get all of his probation done. And then after that, during that, I would be looking for, maybe a group home situation. But I think that he likes this life. I think this is the life that he wants.
Attention and fame at any cost.
At any cost. Clout is a hell of a drug.
Daniel's week at CU Boulder is just one chapter in a saga of unfortunate events, leaving a lasting impact on those who were with him. Just like Dylan, Nathan from the fraternity is completely done with Daniel and has rethought his use of social media after having his personal information exposed by trolls.
I wanted to completely disassociate Daniel Larson from anything to do with me.
CU freshman Maya has also stopped following Daniel after the night she spent with him on campus. A night that ended after he had made a comment that made Maya uncomfortable. So, do you tend to avoid videos of him now?
Actually, yeah. Because, when I first heard that audio that I said earlier, oh, Grace Vanderwall, I want to drink your pee, I thought it was funny and weird and a little creepy. But, convincing him that I was her sister, he could possibly, think that way about me. And that makes me just so uncomfortable. Every time someone sends me one, I don't necessarily say, I'm not going to watch this. I just don't really watch it. Or if I'm on, Instagram Reels if I'm, like, on Instagram Reels, if I'm not watching someone die in a car crash, if a video of Daniel Larson pulls up, I just scroll past it. Same on TikTok. If I see him on my For You page, I just scroll past it just because I think I've seen enough and experienced enough of him.
Would you do things differently if this had happened now?
Maybe I wouldn't have spent so much time with him. It was definitely an experience because people will still send me videos of him talk about, like, oh, aren't you the Daniel Larson girl? And I was like, don't talk about it, please. I hear it enough. It's not like everyone comes up to me and is like that, but I've had a couple people I've met and they're like, oh yeah, you were with Daniel Larson, right? And I was like, unfortunately so. But to answer your question, I wouldn't say that. I don't know. I still kind of feel the same way. Because if it happened now, you know, I feel like I would have been in the same mindset that he was an internet persona that didn't feel, you know, wasn't right in front of me before. So, unfortunately, I think I would have probably made the same decisions.
Daniel's story is a symptom of a larger problem, one that will likely continue to plague vulnerable individuals if the internet remains a free-for-all, where trolls and haters can cross the line of free speech into harassment and intimidation, and the platforms that they use continue to allow it. Whether we like Daniel or not, we all might agree that he needs help. Help that he can't receive while he remains the subject of a twisted take on Jim Carrey's Truman Show. It is currently unknown if being arrested by the feds marks the end of the Daniel Larson saga. Hopefully, Daniel receives the help and treatment he needs while being incarcerated. Maybe. Then, we'll be able to give the lolcow, Daniel Larson, a rest, so that the person, Daniel Larson, can have a new beginning.
If he had the help he needed in the past, he would have completely turned out different. If he was in the right environment, he could have thrived. And, you know, he ended up where he is now, which I find really sad. A lot of people failed him in his life, and I think the people here, I myself included, unfortunately, also failed him.
A reminder of what used to be. Roaring thunder, northern lights, through the night they fly, pounding hearts, epic voices, rising to the sky.
Later. Thank you for listening. This has been Tales from Under the Bridge, the trolling of Daniel Larson. This is Mason Owens, logging off.
My heart and soul longs for that again. Knowing I'm home, where I belong. Heartache lingers, can we be strong? Roaring thunder, northern lights, through the night they fly, pounding hearts, epic voices, rising to the sky. 10,000 miles away, it's a new day. My heart beating alone. Will you catch me if I fall?